Here we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about journaling. Now, how many of you actually do journaling?
Sort of.
I started.
Okay, how many hands up? Wow, that's great. That's great. So journaling is something that you do without worry about anything. You don't have to worry about grammar. You don't have to worry about sentence structure. You don't have to worry about content or anything like that. It's just free flowing. Now, how many of you use a pen and paper? Okay, so does anybody use a computer? Okay, so Joy does journaling on the computer. I personally do pen and paper because I feel more comfortable with a pen and paper. But you can do whatever you want. But this is important, especially since we are authors. This is important that you continue the journaling because it's a way of healing yourself. It really is. So the more you do it, the better. So we have our first writing assignment. And the assignment is to journal for half an hour every day this week. No self-editing, just write. Now what happens if you sit down and you put your paper to the pen, your pen to the paper, and nothing happens? What do you do?
Write anyway.
Sorry?
You write anyway.
What do you write if nothing comes down?
I don't know what to write. This sucks. I don't know what to write. This sucks.
Exactly.
Right.
You start off, I don't know what to write.
You're good.
Yeah. You've been to the artist way, haven't you? Yeah. So I don't know how to, or whatever. Or you can say, I don't feel good this morning, or so-and-so really made me mad. Whatever it is, right? You're just downloading. Yes?
So you can just journal anything you want to journal.
Anything. Right now is free flow. So just journal anything, because you're going to get, what happened to me, if you remember my story, my personal story of going through depression, that was one of the things that really helped me. In the beginning, I would journal, and I wouldn't be very, very nice when I would journal. It would be quite dark. But then I started asking questions, and I started getting the answers that I needed from my higher self, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So it's a way of downloading whatever junk you have up there and getting to the creative you. That's the important part. That's how you get to creation in writing, is through journaling. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3.
I'm a writer.
And again.
I'm a writer.
And you're also a teacher and a healer. By being part in this book, this is what happens. You become a teacher because you teach what you know, and you become a healer because by sharing your story, other people will be healed. So, always have your healing, educational, and inspirational message. Your chapter is only between 3,500 and 4,500 words. We have to stick to a 50-50 guideline. Maximum. It could be less. What I mean by that is that, yes, we have gone through many things. Many, maybe not so nice things. But when you're writing your chapter, you don't need to put every single detail of what happened. It's important to include how you came out the other side. What is the inspiration? What is the message? How did you cope with those issues? How did you get out of it? What is it that you have to tell other people that will help them so they don't have to maybe go through the same thing you did to such an extent? That's what people want to read. In the journaling, you get out your story. You get it out. You get out all the junk. You get it out. And then you clear the path for the inspiration. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because what do people want to read?
The end.
Sorry? Inspiring stories. And where does the inspiration come from?
The writer.
The writer.
Experience.
Experience. What were you going to say, Rahana?
The light.
The light. The light? I love that. Yes. Turn on the switch from darkness to light. All you have to do is turn on the on switch. Okay, easier said than done. Does that make sense though? Because that's an important part of writing your story, writing your chapter. So use the journaling to get all the negative stuff out. Right? Just all the junk. Get it out. And then you will see the things, and we'll teach you how to get the golden nuggets. You will see what are the things that people can really grab onto that are going to help them, that are going to inspire them. Okay. So you have a writing assignment. This is my ebook that I love. Now, how many people do we have from the last course? Catherine, did you actually fill it out?
Yes.
The whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, good girl. Start again. Yeah, start from scratch. Because it's based on the 13 kindness keys. And for next week, what I'd like you to do is to do the first 3, which are harmony, gratitude, and love. Okay? So if you look at your workbook, it's not too many pages. And it's a workbook. So you're going to be answering questions, you're going to be thinking, you're going to be reflecting, and you're going to be putting down your thoughts. Now, you don't have to come to class and show us what you've done, because this is for you, right? This is for your introspection. Is that the right word? Introspection. However, fill it out. Do the exercises, because they really, really help, especially when you're trying to find what it is that you're going to write about or what your message is. And it's basically based on finding your purpose in life. It's a great workbook. It's an ongoing process. You might have written it once or filled it out once. Once is not enough. Actually, coming here today, I reread it myself, and I wrote it. And I thought, hey, that's pretty good. I could redo that exercise right now. That is going to help me right now to do that. So don't panic. I mean, it is 28 pages, and you do have to think, and you have to fill things out and all of that. Just do the first 3. If you go ahead, perfect. If you don't, you have a whole bunch of time to do it in. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. There are 2 ways that you can start into your story. One is that things are peachy keen, things are good in your life. You've had some really good experiences, and you're continuing along, and you realize that you're having even better experiences. So it's from good to better, just like a straight line. And these are the wisdoms that you've gotten, that you've learned from good experiences. And that's great. I would say that most of us are probably in the other part of this. And that is that our lives were going on okay, or maybe even great. And then something happened. An event in your life happened that changed everything. Can people resonate with that? Absolutely. So when you're thinking about writing your story, you talk about the recesses into the mind, basically. You're going down and thinking, you know, how did this happen? I was up here and all of a sudden I'm going down this way. Then something happened. There was a change. There was an awareness. You did some work. Whatever it was, there were realizations. And you see what the wisdom was in what you went through. And then you start going up, and that is where the transformation is. And of course, the added value to what you went through. Does that make sense? That's normally how it happens, isn't it? And that's probably how your story is going to go. When I talked about my depression, I always say, and you'll see this up here, where I am today, but it wasn't always this way. And then I go into my story. Any questions on that? Because we're going to do an exercise on that. Not yet? Okay, so here we go. So I want you to take out this exercise that you were handed. Everybody have it? And whether you've done it before or not, I still want you to do it again. And it says, my life wasn't always as it is today. The person, event, circumstance that changed my life was, which made me realize or made me aware or taught me and transformed me or my life as follows. So I want you to take like 3 minutes and fill this out. Okay? Go for it. Okay. So this is the place where we ask people to share. Because we have to get used to coming out to the front. Because we will be in front of thousands of people in a year's time. So who is the brave soul that would like to come up first? Linda? Yay, Linda, give her a hand. Come on up, Linda. That's great. We didn't have to bribe anyone or anything, Joy. Oh, that's right. Peace, love. All right, here, I
don't think I need it.
Yeah, you do.
You think?
I'll hold it for you.
Okay. Okay, my life wasn't always as it is today. The thing that changed my life was a poor relationship, which made me realize that I was the only one responsible for my happiness. It transformed my life as follows. I started journaling, reading inspirational books, meditating, did some Reiki training, eventually becoming a Reiki master, and brought me to the I am realization.
Perfect. Thank you. Isn't that wonderful? Very nice. Okay, we'll have one more. Rob, come on up.
Just do the first part?
Yeah.
My life wasn't.
This one here, yeah. Come on up. Give him a hand. Okay, Rob, I'll hold it for you.
Or just say it.
My life wasn't always as it is today. On January 19, 2012, I got the official diagnosis that I had T-cell lymphoma. I didn't know what it was, and I was told it's a very aggressive type of cancer and that most people die within the first 8 months. To cancel my plans for the year, and the goal was just to live. If you live, we'll call it a success. And so at that point, what I learned is that life is a valuable gift and that tomorrow is not promised, or even making plans for the next year. So I learned I do make plans, but I say God willing. I'm not in charge and I don't know everything that's going to go on in the future. And I also learned to tell the people that's in my life how much they mean to me. Don't let things go by with assuming that, I'll let them know next year or next time, or, but really those little things. Enjoy the sunshine today, enjoy going for a walk, enjoy being pain-free, whatever it is, while you have it, because we don't know tomorrow. And so transformation, I'm still going through, I guess, learning a lot of things from that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now you have to tell everyone that you did have your checkup, right?
Oh, okay. The good news part. Yeah, okay. The good news with the major transformation. I went to a health retreat and Rush, how much time? Just like a minute. I went to a health retreat in Colorado, and I did the natural remedies. They do some things called hydrotherapy, fever baths, and where you're in temperature of really hot water. I did hyperbaric chamber it's basically getting more oxygen in your system. I was drinking organic juice and eating mainly raw. I also was anointed and prayed over. My home church and another church was fasting and praying for me also. And when I went to do my PET CT scan, it showed no sign of cancer, no sign of T-cell lymphoma. And so I was very happy. So I was like, praise God. And then they were like, well, you don't really understand how it works, because it's actually, it affects your blood. It affects your T cell, which affects your immune system. And so it doesn't just go away like that. So I had to do a blood test. And so I did my blood test, and no sign. My bone marrow test, my PET CT scan, and the oncologist, they were saying, because I'm wondering, could this be a wrong diagnosis? And they said no. At the BC Cancer Agency, 3 different pathologists confirmed it separately, that this is what I do have, and it shows nothing. They also keep a sample of the tissue, and they tested it again when everything started being so positive, because I didn't do chemo or radiation, and yeah, it's gone. And so I had already believed that God can work miracles, and I've already seen, but then it was another thing when it was my life, and it was going to be death, and how God has healed me. And so learning from that, but during the process of the time, there was just, a lot of things that was going on. So yeah, that's sort of my
great.
story.
Yeah. Does anybody want to read Rob's story?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob.
And of course, there's lots of detail.
Okay, all right, that's enough. I love doing that. Sorry, Rob, but that's great. Okay, so I don't think Rob will have any problem coming up to the front and speaking in front of people. What do you think? No. That was great, Rob. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's exercise number 2. So here we go again. So take out your exercise and start completing these sentences. Now, you don't have to complete them all, only the ones that call to you, that you're called or you're drawn to. That's proper English. Okay? So let's go. Okay, so we need a couple more brave souls to come up. So I think Judy wants to come up.
Yay!
Come on up, Judy. Yay, Judy.
I'll probably fall over dead on the floor.
Come over here.
Okay, we got you back.
We've got your back.
Yeah.
Good girl. See? It's not that hard.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to share one of them with us?
Now let's share this.
Okay.
If I could teach the world one wisdom, it would be you're never too old to do the things that God calls you to do.
Very nice.
The experience that changed my life was the adoption of a child. I had her with me from the age 3 days old, adopted her when she was 2, and I was 64. When I witnessed the love in her eyes, I knew that she was meant to be mine. Growing up, I did not know my birth mom. A stepmom or adopted mom can be as good or better than a birth mom. It just takes love.
Very nice. Very nice. Give her a hand. Very, very nice. Okay, so someone from this side of the room, and probably from the behind, like the back of the room. And
Someone with curly hair?
somebody with curly hair. This is my version of volunteer. Come on up, Rohanna.
Oh my god. Good timing.
I know. We have some chickens.
I was waiting outside the door till we got the first curly girl up.
Are you okay with doing this? Yes?
I'm a little nervous.
No, don't worry about it. Come on up. Here, I'll hold the mic for you. Come on up. See? It's not so hard.
Mine's lame.
There is no such thing. So there's no such thing, Rohanna.
Okay.
Okay, so which one would you like to share with us?
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Okay. The best advice I ever received was, remember to have a sense of humor, no matter how hard life gets.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Great. And just because Eva was late, she's going to come up and share with us. Come on up, Eva. Just one. Just one. Eva can also multitask. She can read as she walks. Okay, here you go. Just choose one.
Oh, if I could teach the world one wisdom, it would be open to it looking different.
Be open to it looking different. Be open to it looking different.
Well, yes, and what I mean by that is that for me, I always have a plan and how it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to look, which never works. And it works typically when I'm open to it not being exactly how I planned it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Great going. Okay, did that give you some insight into maybe something that you might write about?
Yep.
Yes? Okay. All right, so the next part is something that we call clustering. Now, does anybody know about clustering? Okay, Catherine does because she was in class number 1. Anybody else? You know about clustering? Okay, this is a really good way to start thinking of your story, of something that's happened in your life, your event. It doesn't have to be your story at this point, but to choose a word in the center, and we will do it up here, to choose a word like that, and then whatever comes to you. Okay, you start like a spider web. So I will ask someone to give me a word or an event in their lives, and then we will do the exercise together. Okay. Rahim. Okay, so what's the word?
Grandmother.
Grandmother. Okay. Okay, so Rahim, when you think of grandmother, what do you think about?
Protector.
Protector. And when you think of protector, what do you think about?
Safety or safe.
Safety, okay. And when you think of safety, what do you think about?
Trustworthy.
Trust. And when you think of trust, what do you think about?
Care and love.
Care. And when you think of care, you think of love?
Yeah.
And when you think of love, what do you think about?
Relationships.
Relationships. And when you think of relationships, what do you think about?
Trust again.
Trust? Okay, so then you go back here. Okay, so maybe that one's done now. Okay? Next one that you think about grandmother, what else do you think about?
Connection.
Okay. So you think about connection. And when you think about connection, what do you think about?
It doesn't always have to be family. It's not one word.
Not always family?
Yeah.
And when it's not always family, what do you think about? Or who do you think about?
Community.
Community. And when you think of community, what do you think about?
Humanity.
Humanity?
Yeah.
And when you think about humanity, what do you think about?
Oneness.
Oneness. And when you think about oneness, what do you think about?
Diversity.
And when you think of diversity, what do you think about?
The divine.
Divine. And when you think about divine, what do you think about?
Back to humanity again.
Back to humanity?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one goes up there. Okay, when you think of grandmother, what else do you think about?
Light.
Light. And when you think about light, what do you think about?
Peace.
And when you think about peace, what do you think about?
Courage.
Courage. And when you think about courage, what do you think about?
oneness again.
Okay, so then that one goes up here. Okay. So I want you all to take out or just turn over your piece of paper.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So when he was answering your questions, did you have any memories that came to mind, like specific things that happened with Grandma?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could holler those up too,
Okay.
right? Because this is for your story, right?
It can be for the story, yeah. It's a way of thinking, right? It's a different way of thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that. But it's excellent the way that you did it, and it's so easy, right? It just goes, it just flows. So this is a type of thing that you use anytime you get stuck. When you're writing something, put it in a cluster and start in the middle, and then start all the little, what do you call these? Bubbles. Because that will get you going. It will get your creativity going. It will get you thinking. So that was a good one. That was on grandmother. So, for example, for Judy, you can put your daughter there, right? Mm-hmm. And all the things that means, right? You'll have a million things to say. Yeah. For other people, instead of a person, it could be an event. Does anybody have an example of an event that we could work on? Yes, Dwayne.
A riot?
A riot.
Yeah.
Like in having a really good time?
No.
Just checking.
Well, that can be done, yes.
It can be done. Okay. So event, a riot. So how many things do you think would go from the riot? Lots. Okay, so everybody choose one thing. So you could do yours on riot. Everybody choose one event or one word or one whatever it is, and do your clustering and see what you come up with. Okay, how do we do?
Okay.
Was everybody able to do it? Any problem with it? Okay, so this is a really good tool, like an excellent tool when you're writing and when you get stuck. Then you can actually do your cluster, or even when you're looking at ideas for your story, you can try some out and say, okay, well maybe this incident happened, let's see how that goes and see if there's enough there for the chapter. So yeah, so practice your clustering. Okay, so we have some assignments. The first one is the half hour of journaling. So is everybody going to do that? The best time to journal is actually first thing in the morning. I know, if you go to work, it's really hard to get up half an hour earlier, but it would be great, or late at night, one of the two. But if you could, get up half an hour earlier, make your cup of coffee or tea, and just sit down before you brush your teeth, before you do anything. It's a great, great way of doing it. And remember to complete the first 3 kindness keys of your purpose, platform, and profit workbook. Harmony, gratitude, and love. And we will be using those. So we'll be using the gratitude part next week. Ongoing assignments, yes?
Can I add something to the class?
Can you add something to the class?
Yeah.
Yes, let me just go through this and then I'll ask you to come up. Ongoing writing assignments. Great writers read. I'm a writer. Okay, so how many of you are actually in the middle of a book now? Are you reading a book? Okay, good. It's also a good idea if you're writing inspirational books or inspirational chapters that you start reading inspirational books. So, for example, Chicken Soup for the Soul. If you have any of those, thumb through them. Or if there is a certain writer that you really, really like, then read of their books so you can see what their style is in writing. And maybe it's something that you want to emulate. The other part that's really fun and might get you into a little bit of trouble is to listen and observe everyone and everything. You become more aware of how people speak. Because if you're going to be writing dialogue in your story, then isn't it cool to listen how other people communicate and how they make their phrases? So listen and observe. Yes?
And be careful when you talk to Joy, you might end up in a book.
That's right. Don't tell Joy any secrets. Unless, yeah, because it might end up in a book. That's right. All right. So Dwayne wants to add something to the class. So Dwayne, would you like to come up, please?
No way.
Thank you. This is my experience in writing my book. I've already finished it. All right. What helped me the most, and I'll try to pass this on to you, is to speak into a tape recorder. All right. Now you can freely speak and tell everything. The words will start flowing. The incidents will come to you, and you start talking to it. Then you can go back, depends on how long you'll go, a half an hour, 20 minutes, even 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. It gets the ball rolling. You go to work, okay, come back, you play that tape. Oh, hey, I can start writing now. All right? And it's just like, okay, I can add something more. So you turn on the tape and start talking again. It makes it a lot easier, and you got a copy. You can always go back to it, all right? Or go forward. Oh, hey, I remember another story or another incident. Add that on. You can edit. I mean, editing is at the end. It's just to get you going, the words flowing, and get you going in that writer stance or thinking or whatever you want to do. It worked for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. That's a good idea. That's a good idea to have a tape recorder and to speak into it. That's always good to carry a little notepad with you, and because things will happen. You'll be walking down the street and all of a sudden, ding, the light bulb goes off and you have nothing. If you're Dwayne, you'll have a little tape recorder with you and write it in. But if you're not, have a little notepad and pencil with you. Also, what happens is that when you start thinking about your stories or possible stories, you will wake up in the middle of the night with a dream or with an idea or something like that. So make sure that you have your little pad of paper and a pen by your bedside table, because that will also happen. Or if you're Dwayne, you can have your tape recorder. But always be ready to write things down, because you know what's going to happen. You get an idea, you say, oh yeah, I'll write it when I get home. And guess what happens? Poof, it's gone. Right? So it's always good to do that as well. Okay, so that's it. This is the end of the class, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm a writer. And again? I'm a writer. Okay, so that's great. So that's the end of class number 1. We will be back next week at 7 o'clock, right on time, and we'll start straight into our writing class with Joy Ross. All right. Good night, everyone.